Hello everybody, Gavin McCormack here. Now we are in South Georgia on the northern tip of the Great Southern Ocean just outside Antarctica. And this week we're talking all about the ozone layer and particularly about a special gas that resides within the atmosphere called ozone. Now ozone, you've probably heard of it, there's an ozone layer that protects the entire planet, and we recently discovered there was a little hole in it that was causing a very big problem for all of humanity. Number one, it was letting in ultraviolet rays that were causing humans to have cancer. But number two, it was heating up the world, Jordan, and glaciers like the one behind us started to melt. And if they melt, sea rises very high. And number two, animals become extinct. Now this week we're going to do an artistic composition based on what we're looking at behind us. Jordan, from Young Art USA, what are we doing this week?
Well, we're going to be taking a look specifically at the different states of matter because we learned that ice melts and becomes liquid water, but you can also heat up water and it becomes water vapor. So behind us we have those three different examples. We have water vapor in the air, we have the ice of the glacier, and we have liquid water that we're traveling on right now. We're going to take those three different states of matter and create a composition that shows its density, the idea of what is on top of what else. So if you boil water on a stove, you're going to have that liquid water become water vapor, and the water vapor rises. It becomes above that water. And if you pour yourself a glass of water with ice in it, the ice will float on top of the liquid water as well. So we're going to take those three different stages of density and create a composition, starting off with liquid water with a water paint like tempera or watercolor, where you can apply the watercolor back and forth onto the surface. Then we're going to do a second layer on top of that, which will be the solid state of water, or ice, floating on top of that. And we're going to take a stronger set for that. We're going to use a different material, a different technique. We'll be cutting pieces of paper out to float on that surface.
Amazing.
And then finally, we're going to wrap up with water vapor, or the air portion of water. When that's going to be on the top layer, and you can use any type of drawing material for that. So oil pastels, watercolor pastels, colored pencils, anything like that to get the topmost surface.
Amazing. So really what we're going to be doing here is taking a scientific concept of solids, liquids and gases and representing it in an artistic way.
Exactly.
Absolutely gorgeous. Now, how are we actually going to put this thing together? How will we create these three distinct layers? Will it be one solid creation or three separate artifacts put together to make one piece?
I think one piece will be most beneficial for this, because then you can get those different states of matter and their densities on top of one another, with liquid water being on the bottom, then the solid state of water, ice being on top, and then on top of that, the water vapor. And what we'll be doing is framing this all together to create a display.
So how can we frame it? It's pretty hard to frame something, especially if I don't have frames around the house. What kind of materials can I use?
All you really need to do to frame something is to create two large letter L's out of paper. You can frame that up, and if I use my fingers for an example here, you can have one letter L this way and another letter L like this, and you just basically overlap the two of them until you create a frame for your piece, moving it around until you can have all three states of matter in a composition that you like.
Amazing. What color should we put our frame? What color should it be? Should it be a darker color than the image I can see behind, or a similar color?
I would recommend, because we are working with a lot of blue, because we're working with water here, and white, you might want to choose a darker color, like maybe a violet or a green that's close to blue on the scale, but making it a little bit darker. So like a forest green or a really deep violet will work really well.
Amazing. Now, once you've finished your composition, what you might want to do is put a piece of string on the back of it and hang it up somewhere really, really prominent in your house or in your school to remind you and everybody else who passes it that although science is a distinct subject, it also crosses over with art beautifully. And it will remind everybody who looks at your creation that this important vista you can see behind us is really, really crucial for the survival of every organism on the planet, and we should all take note that the Earth needs to stay beautifully balanced in this contrast so that we can all survive effectively. Now, Jordan, thank you again for your help, and we will see you all next week.